A month before I was set to present my life's work. The moonlight therapy, Marcus, my alpha and fiancé of 5 years, asked me to give the entire research project to his old flame, Isabella. I refused. He spent the entire month trying to convince me, insisting he was only fulfilling her dying wish. Then, 2 weeks before the presentation, a link from a friend arrived. That's when I discovered Isabella was already promoting my research online as her own. He had never intended to ask for my permission at all. In that instant, I chose to sever our 5-year bond. What Marcus didn't know was that the core research he'd stolen was critically flawed. On the very day Isabella presented that faulty data to the world, I walked through the doors of the Boston Werewolf Medical Institute instead. I never looked back. Emma, I know this is a difficult pill to swallow, but Isabella is in desperate need of help. Marcus sat in the sprawling living room of the pack house, his voice laced with a weariness I'd never heard before. I set my research papers down and studied the face of the alpha I had loved for 5 years. Give her my research, I repeated, the words tasting like ash. The moonlight therapy? So she can publish it as her own. Marcus refused to meet my gaze. She has bloodline decay syndrome. This is her dying wish, Emma. Her only chance at leaving a legacy. His words were a dagger twisting in my heart. My presentation is next month, I stated, my voice dangerously level. No, Emma. But if it wasn't for Isabella 6 years ago, I'd have been torn apart by a gang of rogues. I owe her my life. Marcus finally looked up, his eyes pleading with me on behalf of another female. And what about me? My voice began to tremble despite my efforts. What about the 5 years of my life I poured into this research? This is just a paper, Emma. After Isabella gets the recognition she needs, we can focus on us, on our future. Just a paper? I cut him off, incredulous. Marcus, listen to yourself. You want me to hand over 5 years of my work to another female? And then what? We just move on. Marcus rose and strode toward me, but I took a reflexive step back. Emma, if you truly loved me, you would understand. Isabella needs this legacy more than you need the credit right now. This is not a betrayal. Enough. I turned to the window, my hands clenching into tight fists at my sides. The moon outside was a brilliant silver, but tonight, its light felt cold and unforgiving. You've already made your decision, haven't you? I said, my back still to him. This past month you weren't asking for my permission. You were informing me of your plans. I heard his footsteps halt a few paces behind me. The space between us felt like a chasm. Isabella's situation is unique. She's the sharp ring of a phone sliced through his excuse. A glance at the screen confirmed my suspicion. Isabella. Marcus answered, his tone instantly softening into one of concern. What is it? Are you not feeling well? Okay, I'm on my way. After hanging up, he snatched his jacket from the back of the chair. I have to go check on her. We can talk about this when I get back. There's nothing left to discuss, I choked out. He paused at the door, his expression hardening from conflicted to resolved. A future Luna can't afford to be so petty, Emma. It's just a research paper. I have to fulfill her dying wish. The day Isabella successfully presents her research, I will hold our mating ceremony with you. The door clicked shut, plunging the cavernous living room into silence. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. My phone buzzed, a new message lighting up the screen. It was from an old friend from the academic circle. Attached was a link to a popular online forum for werewolf medical news. The headline read, Isabella Vance to unveil groundbreaking moonlight therapy for bloodline decay syndrome. She was already pre-promoting it, claiming it as her own discovery. Marcus spent a whole month trying to convince me. All the while he had already stolen a part of my work for Isabella. He had been playing me for a fool from the very start. I swiped angrily at the hot tears on my cheeks. My phone rang again. This time, it was my mentor from the Boston Werewolf Medical Institute, Dr. Sarah. Emma, we have a new research project opening up, focusing on werewolf hereditary diseases. It's a 2-year position. Are you interested? I gazed out at the cold, distant moon steely, resolve crystallizing in my chest. When can I start? The sooner the better. We need our candidate on site by the full moon next month. This was supposed to be the day of my research presentation. But now, it was simply the day Isabella would present that flawed research. Perfect, I said, my voice firm and clear. I'll be there on the night of the full moon. The next day, I was scrolling through my phone when I came across Isabella's Instagram. Her latest post was a photo of her and Marcus in the medical lab, their heads bent together as they studied a computer screen, engrossed in conversation. Beneath the picture, Isabella had written, "Exploring the clinical applications of moonlight therapy with Marcus. This revolutionary research is going to change the future of leak-in medicine. Thank you to my brilliant research partner for his unwavering support. Hashtag Moonlight Therapy, hashtag Luna Medical Award, here I come." My finger hovered stiffly over the screen. The comments were flooded with congratulations from experts and academics across the leak-in medical community, all praising the breakthrough achievement. I switched over to WolfMedNet, the premier leak-in medical forum. The top post was an announcement for Isabella's upcoming interview with Leak-In Medical Weekly. The journalist's intro read, "This groundbreaking moonlight therapy is set to revolutionize leak-in medicine, and is already being hailed as the strongest contender for this year's Luna Medical Award." The Luna Medical Award. The highest honor in our field. The prize I had spent my life dreaming of. At 2 in the morning, the door swung open. It was Marcus. He saw me still buried in my research data and his brow furrowed. "Another all-nighter, Emma," he sighed. "You're always like this. The work always comes first." I didn't look up, my focus locked on the data tables before me. "I'm taking Isabella to the Northern Pac Medical Conference for a pre-launch roadshow tomorrow," Marcus said, shrugging off his jacket. His voice was bright with an excitement he couldn't conceal. "If she makes a good impression at the roadshow, the nomination for the Luna Medical Award is a sure thing. To be honest, she's always been just like you, dedicated to medical research. She's just had a string of bad luck and hasn't been able to make a name for herself." I finally looked up, my expression unreadable. The words died on his tongue. He cleared his throat, a flicker of unease in his eyes. He changed the subject. "By the way, I've started planning our mating ceremony. I booked the Moonlight Hotel. It's right near where Isabella's holding her presentation." He crossed the room to my side, reaching for my hand. "After Isabella's presentation is over, we can finally have our ceremony. I was thinking of flying in your favorite Ecuadorian roses." I stared at the face that knew every little thing about me, a bitter taste rising in my throat. The alpha who knew me so intimately was the one who could wound me the deepest. "Can have your mating ceremony, Marcus, but I won't be your Luna." "Do whatever you want," I said, snatching my hand back and turning my focus to the papers in front of me. Marcus lingered for a moment before leaving without another word. For the next week, Marcus was consumed with escorting Isabella to a whirlwind of academic roadshows and events. In every photo, Marcus was glued to Isabella's side, listening with rapt attention as she explained her research. In one post, Isabella faced the camera and declared, "I hope to dedicate the Luna Medical Award to all the patients suffering from bloodline decay syndrome. The significance of this research goes far beyond personal honor." The comment section erupted with praise. I shut off my phone and quietly began packing my belongings from the pack house. Most of it was research material, but I made sure to leave behind the core data for the moonlight therapy, the very files Marcus wanted to copy for Isabella. The data contained critical flaws I hadn't had time to correct. But Isabella was a charlatan, she'd never spot the errors. Blindly applying the moonlight therapy in its current, flawed state would lead to a severe degeneration of the werewolf bloodline. The damage was reversible, but as far as I knew, the District Alpha's son was in her first batch of patients. Research theft, academic fraud, and a major medical disaster. These charges would be more than enough to ensure Isabella paid a devastating price. Just as I was nearly finished, the doorbell rang. It was my bestie Lily. She stormed in, waving her phone in my face. "Emma, what the hell is this?" In her interview with Leak-In Medical Weekly, that bitch Isabella is blathering on about winning the Luna Medical Award with moonlight therapy. "Isn't that your research?" After I explained everything, Lily was trembling with rage. "You stole your work for that bitch. And just 2 days ago, He was telling me he was planning your mating ceremony for next month's full moon. My gaze drifted to a photo of Marcus and me on the living room wall, and a bitter smile touched my lips. He won't get the chance. But Lily, please don't say anything to him yet. 3 days before the presentation, a message from Isabella appeared on my phone, inviting me to lunch. Emma, I want to thank you in person for your support. Without your understanding, I never would have had this opportunity. I agreed, morbidly curious to see what game she was playing. At the restaurant, Isabella was radiant in a white dress, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Marcus was already there, though his smile didn't quite reach his eyes when he saw me. Emma, you made it, Isabella said, rising as if to embrace me. I offered a polite nod and sat, ignoring her effusive display. Marcus and I were just discussing the criteria for the Luna Medical Award, Isabella said, settling back into her seat and leaning deliberately closer to him. He was saying the committee values clinical application and theoretical innovation above all else. Marcus chimed in, moonlight therapy has breakthroughs in both areas. Dr. Harrison from the committee even called yesterday to ask for the exact time of the presentation. I remained silent, a cold numbness spreading through my chest. Emma, I really can't thank you enough, Isabella purred, turning to me with eyes full of manufactured gratitude. Without your generosity, I would never have had a shot at the Luna Medical Award. Marcus told me what this award means to the Leakin medical world, and now I finally understand. I wonder if you'll be so confident in a prison cell, Isabella. I set down my fork and met her gaze directly. Don't thank me. Isabella's smile only widened. Marcus has worked so hard helping me prepare. After the Northern Pack conference yesterday, he stayed up with me until 3 in the morning, revising my speech. With that, she pulled out her phone, swiping excitedly through her photos. Emma, look at these pictures from yesterday's conference. On the screen was a shot of her and Marcus on a stage. Marcus looked exhilarated, a far cry from the man who constantly complained that I cared more about my research than him. I managed a faint smile. Well, congratulations to you both. Marcus's own smile faltered. He looked at me, as if he wanted to say something, but held his tongue. Throughout the rest of the lunch, he kept stealing glances in my direction, his brow furrowed in thought. Emma, are you okay? He finally asked, his voice low. I'm fine, I said, dabbing my mouth with a napkin and rising from my chair. Good luck with your presentation. I heard Marcus begin to stand, but Isabella's sickly sweet voice reeled him back in, and he didn't follow. On my second to last day, I went to the Medical Institute's library to retrieve some journals I planned to take with me. As I neared a turn in the stairwell, I froze, recognizing the voices drifting from around the corner. Marcus and Isabella were seated at a table by the window, surrounded by papers and a laptop. Marcus was gently rubbing Isabella's shoulder, his expression soft. Don't worry. No one's research is better than Emma's. This moonlight therapy is a guaranteed contender for the Luna Medical Award. I was about to turn and walk away, but Isabella suddenly shot to her feet. Emma? What are you doing here? Her voice was sharp, accusatory. A flash of embarrassment crossed Marcus's face. Just picking up some materials, I answered, my own expression neutral. Isabella strode toward me, but just as she reached the top of the stairs, she suddenly cried out and stumbled, throwing herself against a nearby bookshelf. Ah! She shrieked as the heavy shelf began to tip, sending a cascade of books crashing to the floor. In an instant, Marcus was there, catching a swaying Isabella in his arms. Are you okay? He asked, anxiously examining her. Isabella clutched her arm, her eyes welling with tears. It hurts. Emma, why did you push me? I stood my ground, my brows knitting together as I watched her pathetic performance. I didn't touch you. You did. You pushed me. Isabella's voice rose, drawing the attention of everyone in the library. I know you're jealous that I have a shot at the Luna Medical Award, but you can't retaliate like this. Marcus's face darkened instantly. He glared at me, his eyes a storm of disappointment and fury. Emma, the presentation is just days away. Isabella has worked so hard for this, not just to win an award, but to save more patients. No matter how jealous you are, How could you do something so childish and vicious? Isabella clutched her arm, her face a mask of pain. Marcus, my right wrist really hurts. What if this affects my work on the speech tonight? The application deadline for the Luna Award is the day of the presentation. If I'm injured, don't worry, I'll take you to the hospital right now, Marcus said, helping Isabella up without a single glance in my direction. They rushed off, leaving me alone with the scattered books and the lingering stares of the onlookers. I knelt to pick up the books, each leather-bound volume feeling like a monument to the love I once had for Marcus. Marcus, anyone who actually respects research wouldn't leave books scattered all over the floor. When the truth is finally revealed, will you still rush to her defense? Will you regret this? The way you treated me today? At 10 that night, Marcus finally came home. He looked exhausted as he sank onto the sofa, rubbing his temples. Isabella's fine, just a minor sprain, he said, his voice laced with guilt. Emma, about today I might have overreacted. I continued arranging the medical journals on the coffee table, offering no response. I know I've been neglecting you lately, Marcus said, getting up and moving to my side. As soon as Isabella's presentation is done and her application for the Luna Medical Award is submitted, we'll have our mating ceremony. The Moonlight Hotel is all set. He reached for my hand. Emma, I'll make it up to you. Ecuadorian roses, a custom mate ring, a honeymoon anywhere you want to go. I pulled my hand away and met his gaze calmly. Okay. Marcus froze, clearly not expecting me to agree so easily. Right, well, I'll call the band tomorrow. And the guests, his voice trailed off, as if he was trying to convince himself. The next day, Marcus was a whirlwind of activity, pacing around the house as he made calls and arranged the details of the mating ceremony. The florist, the photographer, the caterer, he contacted them one by one, occasionally pausing to ask for my input. Emma, how many tiers should the champagne tower have? Whatever. What about the sound system? Do we need microphones? Whatever. He put the phone down and came to stand before me. Emma, can you please give me a real opinion? This is our mating ceremony. I told you, arrange it however you want, I said, my eyes never leaving the medical report in my lap. Isabella's ringtone shattered the tense silence. Marcus answered immediately. What? The application materials need more changes. His tone was instantly sharp with concern. There can't be any mistakes on the Luna Award application, okay? I'm on my way. Hanging up, Marcus grabbed his jacket. Isabella needs to go over the final details for the Luna Award application. I have to go help her. He paused at the door and looked back at me, his lips parting as if to say something more. But in the end, he left without a word. The house fell silent once more. I walked over to the calendar in the living room, and found the date circled for the presentation. It was the same day Marcus had scheduled for my mating ceremony. I picked up a pen, and on that date, I wrote 3 words. Marcus, goodbye forever. Then I placed the calendar in the very center of the coffee table. Over 5 years, I had woven myself into the fabric of this house, but now, almost nothing of me remained. And still Marcus hadn't noticed. I took the framed photo of us from its place on the living room wall, and tossed it into the fireplace. The Emma who had once loved Marcus so deeply was gone, turned to ash. With my luggage packed, I stood in the center of the living room, and took one last look at the pack house where I had spent 5 years of my life with Marcus. It was over. I gripped the handle of my suitcase and walked out the door without looking back. A taxi was already waiting. The driver loaded my bags into the trunk. Where to, miss? The airport. The car pulled away from the curb, and I never looked back. On the radio, Isabella's voice came on. It was the exact time I was supposed to be presenting my moonlight therapy, but instead, she was detailing the flawed treatment, announcing that the first batch of infused moonstones was already being distributed to patients. I opened my laptop and scheduled an email. It contained all the evidence of how Marcus and Isabella had stolen my research, and it was addressed to the regional council. Meanwhile, the real functional moonstones, the ones I created, were already on their way to pack clinics across the territory. Any patients who received Isabella's flawed treatment could still be completely cured, as long as they used my version within the week. With that done, I disconnected from the network. And then, I severed the mate bond between Marcus and me. Goodbye forever, Marcus. Meanwhile, Marcus had skipped Isabella's presentation. A strange, gnawing anxiety had coiled in his gut since morning, and for the life of him he couldn't shake it. He'd initially written it off as nerves on Isabella's behalf, but even seeing her poised and confident on stage did nothing to soothe the beast churning inside him. Ignoring Isabella's protests, Marcus left for the Moonlight Hotel earlier than planned to finalize the details of the mating ceremony. His messages went unanswered. An hour before the ceremony was set to begin, Marcus tried to reach Emma through their mate bond, only to realize Emma had severed it. A guttural roar tore from his throat. Marcus summoned his beta. Find her, he snarled. Find out where the hell Emma is. Marcus was standing on the manicured lawn of the Moonlight Hotel when the call from his beta came through. What do you mean, you can't find her? The beta's voice was a nervous stammer on the other end of the line. Alpha, we can't track Emma's scent anywhere near the pack house. She appears to have been gone for some time. Marcus slammed his phone into his pocket and sprinted to the parking lot. He floored the gas, the engine roaring as he tore down the road. 20 minutes later, he burst through the doors of the pack house. The suit he'd laid out for the ceremony was still hanging on its rack, completely untouched. The trace of Emma's scent in the house was faint, almost ethereal. No, Emma, don't pull a cruel joke like this. His eyes caught a flicker of movement in the fireplace. He strode over. It was the photo of them from their first anniversary. The picture had been turned to ash, only the scorched, twisted edges of the frame remaining. On the coffee table, the calendar lay open to today's date. The day that was meant for their mating ceremony now held 4 words scrawled in bold, red ink. Marcus, goodbye forever. His knees buckled, and he collapsed onto the sofa. Emma had really left him. Marcus snatched his phone, frantically dialing her number. Voicemail. He tried again. And again. Straight to voicemail every time. He stormed upstairs and threw open the bedroom door. All of Emma's clothes were gone from the closet. Her cosmetics had been cleared from the vanity. It was as if she had never lived there at all. The only thing left was the communication Moonstone he'd given her, resting silently on her pillow. Marcus seized it, pouring his own leaken energy into the stone to activate their connection. Emma, where are you? His voice trembled. Please come back. Let's just talk. Meanwhile, at the Boston airport, I pushed my luggage cart out of the arrivals hall and spotted a young man holding a sign that read Emma. Hi, I'm Ethan. Dr. Sarah sent me to pick you up. His smile was warm and genuine as he took my suitcase. Welcome to the Boston Werewolf Medical Institute. In the car, Ethan gave me a rundown of the institute. I listened with half an ear, my mind still replaying the last 5 years, trying to untangle them from the rest of my life. Are you okay? Ethan asked, pausing at a red light to glance at me with concern. You look exhausted. I'm fine. Just a long trip. The institute has a private dorm all set up for you. Get some rest tonight. I'll show you around the lab tomorrow. At 10 that night, I sat on the bed in my new dorm, sorting through the research materials I'd brought. Suddenly, a faint light pulsed from beneath my pillow. I lifted it to find the communication Moonstone Marcus had given me years ago. I thought I'd left it behind at the pack house, but I must have packed it by mistake. Marcus's frantic voice echoed from the stone. Emma, please just answer me. I don't know where you are. I'm going out of my mind with worry. Emma, I was wrong. Can we please just talk about this? Why did you sever the mate bond? Why? His voice grew more desperate with each plea. I picked up the Moonstone, my voice calm and steady when I spoke. Marcus, there's nothing left between us. Don't contact me again. With that, I smashed the Moonstone against the floor. It shattered into a dozen pieces, severing our connection for good. At that same moment, Marcus was driving frantically through the city streets, desperate to find any trace of Emma. Her final words, "Don't contact me again," sliced through the link before the Moonstone went dead in his hand. He slammed on the brakes, pulling the car to the side of the road. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. After a long, shuddering breath, Marcus took out his phone and dialed Lily's number. You have the nerve to call me? Lily's voice was seething. Emma's gone, Marcus said, his voice hoarse. Lily, do you have any idea where she went? And why in the world would I tell you? Lily sneered. You let a fraud take credit for her life's work, and now you have the audacity to pretend you care? You're disgusting, Marcus. No, I messed up. You don't know a damn thing. Lily exploded. Do you have any idea what Emma gave up for you? For 5 years, you were her entire world. And you? You only ever had eyes for that bitch Isabella. Marcus was rendered speechless by her fury. Marcus, do you even know who really saved you from those rogues 6 years ago? He was confused. It was Isabella. If it weren't for her. It was Emma. Lily cut him off, her voice raw. The one who saved your life was Emma. She was gravely injured pulling you away from those rogues. Isabella only showed up after the fighting was over. The world tilted on its axis. That's impossible, Isabella said. Isabella said what? That she was your savior. Lily's voice was dripping with sarcasm. Emma started researching moonlight therapy to heal the permanent injuries you sustained that day. Did you know that? This entire project, it was all for you. In that moment, Marcus's world shattered. Emma saved your life, and you handed her legacy over to a fraud. Marcus, what right do you possibly have to even ask where she is? A long, heavy silence stretched over the phone line. Marcus sat frozen in his car, the phone nearly slipping from his numb fingers. For 6 years he had worshipped the wrong savior. You're lying, he whispered, his voice trembling. Isabella was with me. She was injured. She was only injured because a rogue shoved her aside. Lily yelled. Emma was the one who fought them off to save you. By the time Isabella stumbled onto the scene, Emma was unconscious, and you were critically wounded. So she painted herself as the hero. Why didn't Emma tell me the truth? Because she loved you. Lily's voice cracked with emotion. She saw how grateful you were to Isabella and couldn't bear to shatter that belief. That's just who Emma is. She always puts everyone else first. Marcus hung up and slumped back in the driver's seat. It was Emma who had risked her life for him. And he had destroyed the one person who had ever truly loved him. All for a liar. Just as Marcus was about to mobilize his entire network to find Emma, his phone rang shrilly. Marcus, something terrible has happened. Isabella's voice was choked with tears. The moonlight therapy, it's having severe side effects. The District Alpha's son used it, and his bloodline decay has gotten worse. Marcus's brow furrowed. What? 2 other patients are having the same reaction. The hospital is talking about pressing charges, and the Luna Medical Award Committee is going to revoke my nomination. Isabella was sobbing hysterically. Marcus, you have to help me. You promised you'd always protect me. Listening to Isabella's frantic cries, Marcus felt nothing but a wave of profound disgust. Handle it yourself. Marcus, you can't just abandon me. The research Emma left behind was flawed. She framed me. This is all her fault. Emma never forced you to steal her work, Marcus said, his voice as cold as ice. This was your choice. You deal with the consequences. He hung up and immediately blocked her number. Meanwhile, a scheduled email landed in the District Alpha's inbox, containing all the evidence of how Marcus had helped Isabella steal the research. At the same time, PAC clinics across the territory received a shipment of new, functional Moonstones, complete with detailed instructions for use. The patients whose conditions had worsened under Isabella's flawed treatment made miraculous recoveries after using the new Moonstones. The Wolf MedNet exploded. Isabella Vance stole someone's research and couldn't even tell it was flawed? Is her degree from a cereal box? The true inventor of moonlight therapy is Emma Sterling. Isabella's Luna Medical Award nomination has been officially revoked. She's facing criminal charges for fraud and malpractice. Marcus read the news, a bitter mix of regret and revulsion churning in his gut. Isabella, the woman he'd seen as his savior, the brilliant researcher he thought had just been dealt a bad hand, was nothing but a fraud. She wasn't worthy of even speaking Emma's name. A week later, Marcus finally leveraged his private connections to discover where Emma had gone. The Boston Werewolf Medical Institute. He booked the first flight out. In the institute's bustling cafe he saw her. She was wearing a crisp white lab coat, deep in a passionate discussion with a young man. She looked focused, a brilliant light shining in her eyes. A light he hadn't seen in years. Marcus walked over and slid into the seat beside her. Emma. I looked up to see Marcus's exhausted face. He was thinner than I'd ever seen him, with dark, bruised shadows under his eyes. How did you find me here? I asked, my voice tight with irritation. Emma, I need to talk to you, Marcus said, his gaze flicking to Ethan, who sat across from me. Alone. Ethan started to rise, but I put a hand on his arm to stop him. He's my research partner. Whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of him. Marcus took a deep breath. I know the truth. You were the one who saved me 6 years ago, not Isabella. And you developed moonlight therapy to heal my injuries. I listened in silence, my expression unreadable. Emma, I was wrong. I've cut all ties with Isabella. I'll never see her again, Marcus said, his voice growing more urgent. Can we start over? Please. I slowly closed the folder in front of me and met his gaze. And you think a simple apology fixes everything, Marcus? I know it's not enough. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I don't need you to make anything up to me. I cut him off. We're over. The color drained from Marcus's face. Emma, you can't just end 5 years together because you're angry. Angry? I scoffed. Marcus, you handed over 5 years of my life's work to another woman, and you think this is just some fleeting anger? It was a mistaken judgment. The fact that Isabella knows nothing about medicine was hardly a secret. Was it really a mistake, Marcus? Or did you just choose to ignore it because it was convenient for you? Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. My research project here is for 2 years, I said, standing up. Don't come looking for me again. Ethan and I left the cafe together, leaving Marcus sitting there alone. A ghost at a table meant for two. A long time later, Marcus whispered to the empty room. I will wait for you to come back, Emma, even if you never forgive me. 2 years later. New York City. The day Ethan and I returned from Boston, the werewolf medical community threw a grand welcome reception in our honor. The grand ballroom of the Hotel Plaza was glittering, filled with New York's most esteemed legal medical experts. I walked into the hall on Ethan's arm, feeling a sense of accomplishment I hadn't allowed myself in years. Everyone, I'd like to make an announcement, Dr. Harrison said from the stage, raising his glass. Not only is Dr. Emma Sterling about to release a more advanced and effective version of moonlight therapy, but she's also brought back some other wonderful news. He smiled warmly at us. Dr. Ethan Cole has been Emma's dedicated research partner, and the two are soon to hold their mating ceremony. Let's congratulate this academic power couple. Thunderous applause filled the room. I felt Ethan gently squeeze my hand, a current of warmth and security flooding through me. In the hallway just outside the ballroom, Marcus, who had been tailing me since my flight landed, heard Dr. Harrison's words through the open doors. Fiancé? Mating ceremony? He stormed into the ballroom, his sudden furious entrance causing all heads to turn. Emma! He strode directly toward the stage. You can't be another Alpha's Luna. The hall fell into a stunned silence. I frowned, my pleasant mood evaporating at the sight of him. Marcus? What are you doing here? Emma, we still have an unfinished mating ceremony. You can't. Marcus Blackwood? A middle-aged man stood up from his table. Aren't you the Alpha who aided and abetted Isabella Vance in her academic fraud? Another voice chimed in from across the room. I heard Isabella is still in prison. 10 years for research theft and medical malpractice, wasn't it? Marcus, how dare you show your face at an academic gathering? He looked around the room, met only by cold, disgusted glares. I'm not here for a party. His gaze locked on me, desperate and intense. Emma, we need to talk. Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between us. Marcus, please leave. Marcus's fists clenched, his Alpha's authority radiating from him in waves. But Ethan didn't back down, releasing his own power to meet it head-on. Enough, I said, stepping between them. Marcus, I don't want to see you again. You are not welcome here. Emma. Marcus stared at me, his expression twisting in pain. I'm not giving up on you. After security escorted a protesting Marcus from the ballroom, the reception continued, but my mood had been irrevocably soured. At 10 that night, I drove to my parents' house. When I unlocked the door, a familiar figure was sitting in the dimly lit living room. Marcus. I sat on the sofa opposite him, keeping my distance. What are you doing here? I've been waiting for you to come back for 2 years, Marcus said softly. I handled all the reparations for Isabella's fraud. I shut down our old joint research projects and focused all my energy on fixing the damage she caused. And, Emma, I know I did so many things wrong. Mistaking my savior, stealing your research, letting you take the fall for the flawed data. He slid from the chair and knelt before me. Please give me one more chance. Let me spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I looked at the kneeling man, the once powerful alpha, and felt nothing but a quiet stillness in my heart. You still don't get it, Marcus, I said calmly. The problem wasn't that you got the wrong savior, or even that my research was stolen. Then what was it, he pleaded. The problem, Marcus, is that in 5 years you never once truly respected me, I said, looking him straight in the eye. You always resented me for putting my research before you. Yet you didn't hesitate to throw me and my work aside for someone else when it suited you. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but I continued. When you let Isabella present my work, did you, for even a single second, consider how I would feel? Emma, at the time, I was just trying to what? Repay a debt. I laughed, a cold, sharp sound. You should know by now. I was the one who saved you, not her. The color drained from Marcus's face as he remained kneeling on the floor. I stood up, looking down at him. You thought moonlight therapy was just one of my little projects, something disposable. You assumed that because I loved you, I should be willing to give it away. But I wasn't willing, Marcus. And I will never again love an alpha who sees me as an afterthought. He had no words, no defense. You don't love me, Marcus, I said, picking up my purse from the table. You just can't stand being the one who was abandoned. I'm on my way to pick up my engagement ring. Don't follow me. I walked out of the house into the cool night air, and followed the familiar street toward the jeweler's. As I rounded a darkened corner, 3 shadowy figures stepped out from an alley, blocking my path. Dr. Emma? The man in the lead asked, a malicious grin spreading across his face. We've been waiting for you. I instinctively backed away. Who are you? Isabella sends her regards. The man sneered, revealing a sharp, gleaming silver dagger. She's not having a very good time in prison. She wants you to have a taste of it too. I turned to run, but the other 2 men moved to block my escape. The silver dagger glinted in the moonlight as its wielder lunged toward my heart. Emma. A dark blur hurtled past, shielding me with his own body. The silver blade sank deep into Marcus's chest. Blood instantly blossomed across his shirt, a dark crimson stain. Marcus. I cried out, stunned. Seeing their attack had gone awry, the 3 thugs fled into the darkness. Marcus collapsed to the ground, his breathing shallow, his face a deathly pallor. Don't move, I'm calling an ambulance, I said, my hands trembling as I fumbled for my phone and dialed for help. Emma, Marcus rasped, his hand weakly finding mine. As long as you're okay. 10 minutes later, the ambulance arrived, its sirens wailing. Marcus was rushed to the werewolf hospital. 3 hours later, the surgery was over. The doctor emerged, pulling off his mask with a weary sigh. The patient is out of immediate danger, but silver inflicts devastating wounds on werewolves. He'll need a long time to recover. 2 days later, Marcus finally woke up. I was sitting by his bedside, watching his pale, sleeping face. You're awake. Marcus struggled to sit up, wincing in pain. Are you hurt? I'm fine, I shook my head. You didn't have to take that dagger for me. But I love you, Marcus said softly, his voice weak. Even if you don't love me anymore, I couldn't stand by and watch you get hurt. The room was silent for a long time, filled only by the quiet beep of the heart monitor. Emma, I have to ask you something, Marcus said, looking me straight in the eyes. If it hadn't been for Isabella, if I had never let her present your research, would we still be together now? I was quiet for a long moment before I shook my head. There are no ifs. A bitter, broken smile touched Marcus's lips. He knew it was far too late. I understand, he said, closing his eyes in resignation. Emma, I'd like to meet your fiancé. Is that okay? The next afternoon, Ethan pushed open the door to the hospital room. Marcus was lying in bed, his face still pale, but his eyes were clear. The two men looked at each other, a subtle, unspoken tension crackling in the air. Like an investigator conducting a final interview, Marcus posed a series of questions to Ethan, who answered each one calmly and directly. Finally, Marcus asked the only question that truly mattered. Do you love Emma? I do, Ethan answered without a flicker of hesitation. I don't just love her, I respect her. I admire her brilliance, and I support every decision she makes. And I would never, ever let someone else take credit for her work. That last sentence was a blade, twisting deep in Marcus's heart. Good, Marcus said, a sense of finality in his voice as he closed his eyes. Emma deserves a love like that. Marcus, I think you should know, Emma has completely moved on, Ethan said, his tone gentle but firm. She's happy now. I know, Marcus said with a sad smile. I can see it. The way she looks at you, it's different from how she ever looked at me. I'm jealous of you, but I know I'll never have that chance again. Take care of her. She deserves the best of everything in this world. I will. A week later, I visited Marcus at the hospital. His wound was healing well, and he was able to walk around his room. Your mating ceremony is tomorrow? Marcus asked, his tone carefully neutral. Yes, I nodded. At the Riverside Garden Hotel. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Emma, can I come? As a final goodbye. I was surprised. Are you sure? I want to see you find your happiness with my own eyes, Marcus said, his voice firm. Only then can I truly let go. All right. The next day, at the Riverside Garden Hotel, sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and the air was filled with the sweet, heady scent of Ecuadorian roses. Dressed in a simple white gown, I walked hand in hand with Ethan, who wore a deep blue suit, toward the altar. Emma Sterling, do you willingly enter this mate bond with Ethan Cole, to be his Luna? The officiant asked. I do. Ethan Cole, do you willingly enter this mate bond with Emma Sterling, to be her alpha? I do. Ethan leaned in and pressed a gentle, possessive kiss to the mating gland on my neck, and his powerful, comforting energy flooded into me, sealing our bond. In a quiet corner of the venue, Marcus sat silently. As he watched the radiant smile on my face, a single tear traced a path down his cheek. After the ceremony, he slipped out unnoticed, but not before finding Lily in the crowd and pressing a letter into her hand. Please give this to Emma. Lily took the envelope, watching as Marcus's back disappeared into the celebrating crowd. 3 days later, Lily gave me the letter at my new home. It was short. Emma, congratulations on finding your true happiness. I will continue to atone for what I did, even if you can never forgive me. Thank you for loving me once, and thank you for teaching me what true respect means. I wish you and Ethan a lifetime of joy. Marcus. I set the letter aside and rose to find my alpha. The past was behind me. A brilliant future awaited.